Welcome everyone to 52 Living Ideas. My name is Evanique and I will be moderating tonight. Cherie Kant is going to try to join at the end, but we have Yogeshwar here and that is lovely. And we will have David and Ambika reading. Tonight we will be discussing chapter 18, verses 13 to 17. And so with that, David, can you read for us? And then Ambika?
Yes, certainly. So Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 13 from the Bhagavad Gita Trust. Learn from me, O mighty armed one, these 5 causes for the perfection of all activities as described conclusively in the Vedic scripture. The body, also the ego, the different separate perpetual senses, the various yet separated vital forces, and the 5th being the ultimate consciousness as the indwelling monitor. Whatever action a being performs by the body, speech, and mind, whether proper or improper, these 5 factors are its cause. But such being the case, then one who sees the embodied self as the doer, that ignorant being devoid of any spiritual intelligence, realizes nothing. One whose mentality never considers being the doer and whose spiritual intelligence is not attached to fruitiveness. Such a person, even if warring with the whole world, does not actually slay anyone nor become entangled by fruitiveness.
Thank you, Dave. Up next, Ambika.
And I'm reading the Sri Aurobindo version in the light of Sri Aurobindo. 13. These are, O Mahabahu Arjuna, the 5 causal conditions for the accomplishment of all actions, as declared in the Sankhya doctrine. Know them from me. The base and the doer, and varied instruments, various and several efforts, and now verily the 5th, the fate, the principle of divine dispensation. Whatever work a man commences with his body and speech and mind, whether right or wrong, these 5 are its efficient causes. That being so, one who, because of immature understanding, regards himself alone as the doer, he of perverse thought does not see. He who has no egoistic assumptions of being the doer, whose intelligence is not sullied, though he slay all these peoples, he slays not, nor is he bound.
Thank you, Ambika. Up next, Yogeshwar.
Panchaitani mahabaho karanani nibodha me Sankhye kritante proktani siddhaye sarva karmanam. Krishna is now moving on to what karma truly is. Because if you want to go beyond something, if you want to go past something, you must have the most profound understanding of the same. If you don't have an understanding of it, there is no way that you can go beyond it. What you can only do is run away from it. And when you run away, what happens is it runs behind you. Whatever you're running from will run behind you. It will always chase you. What Krishna here is saying is, if you want to go past karma, if you want to go past the karta, if you want to go past the ego, you have to understand it in the most profound way, from 0 to 100. Don't leave any stone unturned in trying to understand any perspective of it. So Krishna here is now elaborating on what karma means. What happens when karma goes on? What are the causes of karma? when you know the cause of something, you can know what it truly is. If you don't know the cause, if you don't know what happens before that, then there's no way that if you want to stop it, you can stop it. If you want to encourage it, you can encourage it. Right? If something has already happened, you can't do anything to it. But if something is going to happen, then you need to pick on the causes. You need to focus on the causes to know why something truly happens, when it happens, at which place it happens. If you have not known the causes, you'll not know when or how something happens. And to know karma now, we need to know these 5 causes of karma. Panchaitani mahabaho karanani nibodhame. And Krishna here is pointing out that these have been rightly said in the Sankhya Shastra. Now, Sankhya Shastra means that which shows you the Jnana Yoga, which is pointed out in chapter 2, is the same Sankhya Shastra. Sankhya meaning first Sankhya. How the word is made is first they're taking on the root Sankhya. Sankhya means numbers. And then Sankhya, which is made out of Sankhya, means calculation. The way we say that I want to make a calculated move, what does it mean? It doesn't mean literal calculation of numbers. What it means is that you want to understand something, you want to do something with the right understanding, you want to do it in the right way, and you want to understand it properly. That's when you say that you want to make a calculated move. In the same way here, Sankhya means the most profound understanding of something, the calculations of something. So in Sankhya Shastra, there are calculations of karma. Now, calculations doesn't mean like literal number calculation, but the most profound understanding, a calculated move that has been made. What happens that karma happens? Yeah, because there must be a cause of karma. There must be a cause of everything. What is the cause of karma? That's the first thing Sankhya points out. Then Sankhya moves on to point out what karma itself is. And then what happens out of karma. So Sankhya has all these 3 perspectives. Krishna here is pointing out one of them, which is the cause of the karma. And those are 5. And what is Sankhya? Sankhya is Kritanta. Kritanta means you have done all that is supposed to be done in the whole world. That is when you know what Sankhya is. You know what the most profound understanding is when you've gotten that understanding, there's nothing else that you have to do that is remaining for you to do. That means Krita Anta, you've reached the last. Siddhaye sarva karmanam. All the karma, whether we know it or we don't know it, are fulfilled by these 5 causes. What will go wrong if we do not know what causes karma now? We shall do karma using uncalculated moves. There may be some times when karma just goes right, coincidentally, and we shall be happy. And then there will be some times when karma just goes wrong, and we will be unhappy. So what Krishna here is saying is, know the calculations of karma. Having known that, whatever move you take will be calculated. you'll be able to know what will come ahead from before. You may even be able to know something that is coming like way ahead from now, because you know the calculations of karma. You know what it means for me to do something now and the fruit to come afterwards. We will think that if Krishna is saying that the fruit should drop out of your attachment, why is Krishna now talking about the cause of karma and then karma itself and the fruit of karma, how it's all known, how it's all understood? Why should Krishna talk about that? This philosophy says that if you run away from something, you're never going to understand it. Not understanding it means you're always going to dwell within it. You're never going to be able to run away from it. So understand it in the most profound way, whatever it is. If it is about fruit, if you understand what the fruit of karma is, like really profoundly, what it holds for you, not running away from it, then you can go past that. You can say, now I know what fruit I am going to get out of this karma, but I'm not attached to it. I know what karma I have to do, but I'm not attached to it. I know what cause this karma has come from, but yet I'm not attached to it. I don't need to be attached to it because it happens. I don't need to make it happen. Another point that is very relevant here is the four that I talked about at the start of chapter 18, which is artha, kama, dharma, and moksha. There are so many ways of looking at these four perspectives in philosophy. One perspective is, as I had explained to you before, and one is this. The other is this. Artha here means what we do right now, like normally. What do? We talk to someone politely because we want something out of them. Yeah? We say sorry or thank you because we feel that I also have to be respected, so I should respect him. Why are you doing it? Just for that respect back. So that is artha. That is where you're only looking at. If you look at it like profoundly, you realize that you're only looking at the body. You're only looking at what you see. You're only looking at the skin of the truth. At that point in time, money becomes really important because that's how we can do our transactions. I'm not saying money is not important, but when earth is the most profound thing, money is like at the center. It's not that it's just there, but it's at the center. Because if we want something out of somebody, what we only have to do is give money and get what we want. That is the only transaction we're able to figure out, how to make it the most efficient. However, when you get a little under the skin, which would be karma, you start seeing some things that are not only gotten by money, like love, like beauty, like emotions, some good things and some bad things, because all perspectives have that good side and the bad side. You'll start looking at these different perspectives, and then you'll see even in your life that money is not everything. Like there's something deeper than money. Human relations cost more than just sheer money. This is a journey that we're all taking on. So we've all started from somewhere, which is Artha, because that helps us get to a place. Then we must continue our journey onto the karma, which brings onto beauty, which brings onto human relationships, which brings onto love. That is deeper than just the skin. It's under the skin. You can't really just see it. You have to feel it. You have to know it is there. And sometimes it also becomes hard to explain that this exists. Like, just imagine a person who may not have fallen in love, and you're trying to explain to that person that when you're having fallen in love, there are all these things that you can do, and it feels that you're happy. But from that person's perspective, what he says is that instead of falling in love, maybe I could have started my business and made it bigger. So this is when we start having constraints, like which view is right, like, because he also seems to have a point, and even the person who has fallen in love seems to have a point. What Indian philosophy holds is that this is a journey. A person who is in Artha will have all his debates, all his mind, all his thoughts, all his logic directed onto Artha, which means money or just bodily relations, just on top of the skin relations. The other who is in karma will go deeper. He will go on to love. He will go on to emotions. He will go on to human relations. And you will see that there's something there that cannot be gotten by money. And all his logic will turn. All his thoughts will shift. That is a profound shift here. However, the philosophy continues and says that there is something still which is called dharma. Now, dharma is more like a journey to moksha. When you go onto the journey of dharma, what it means is that you are going onto something that is even more profound than love. You're going on to something that is even more profound than human relations. At the face of it, it feels like what could be even more profound than love or human relations? But then it is the same question that a person who is fixated on money would ask a person who is fixated on love. Same question. So this is the same question that a person who is much delved into love and human relations will ask a person who is going on to dharma. It will feel weird, it will feel queer, it will feel like, what are you thinking about that we can't even see? Why are you going onto these undriven roads that may even lead you to some astray place? This person who is going onto dharma is looking for something deeper now, is looking for something that connects everything, not only connecting two people, not only connecting three people, or not only connecting a family, and not only connecting a society now, but connecting the whole of the universe. Now, we may say that human relations connect all humans. Yes, it brings all humans to one platform. But what Dharma is looking for is a more subtle connection, which would even be to each and every animal, to each and every plant, to the whole universe at large. That is the connection now that Dharma wants to get onto. That is what Dharma focuses on, something that is truly beyond even human interaction, something that is always there, it has always been there, but is hidden. just in front of our eyes. What is the best way to hide something? Yeah. If a person has a candle, the best way to hide something is just beneath the candle, because beneath the candle, there won't be any light. Or if we have a torch, the best way to hide something is just behind the torch, because the torch will be able to light everything in front, but just behind the torch, or just beneath the candle, something that is even really apparent won't be able to be seen. So that's what's happening with us right now. It's like we have gone onto these roads of artha and kama, which is mostly money or bodily relations, and then human relations like love and emotions. Now we're also partly on the journey of dharma, because we want something more than that, something that joins everything, like a super consciousness, let's say. But this is not only at the level of love, it's not only at the level of human relations, but it's at a more profound level. It's at the level of being, it's a level of existence. That is what dharma focuses on. That is why when we look at debates or when we look at logic, what appeals to us, that's how we should know where we stand. What aspect of what debate or what logic or what thought resonates with us? That's how we know that we are of a certain kind. Either we are of artha, or we are of karma, or we are of kind of a person who wants to go on to dharma. This is how we know what kind of person we are. Introspection onto who we are. Having said that, now Krishna is doing something that is more profound, because all the scriptures, let's say, that have been written after this, they start with something that is saying, after having read this scripture, you'll attain moksha, you'll have the way of moksha. However, what Krishna did is not talking about moksha at all. What Krishna did is, starting from where Arjuna is, he has taken Arjuna on a journey. He has unfolded so many things in front of Arjuna. When Arjuna has reached this point, Arjuna himself now is saying that, what is the road to moksha? Show it to me. These are two different points of view. We may think that both of them lead to moksha, but see the way they lead to moksha. One is telling you that moksha is the way, get onto it. That is like more forceful. It's like showing you that this is it. However, Krishna allows Arjuna to unfold. How is supposed to unfold naturally? Krishna allows Arjuna to see that if you're in the stand of artha, be there. And then just unfold yourself. Go onto your own being. You'll get onto what it truly means to be yourself. If you're in the aspect of karma, don't worry, just be there and get onto your own being. What does it feel like? Then, now what Krishna here has done is take him on the journey, on his own journey, not telling him what to do, but in his own journey, unfolding the flower, allowing it to flower by itself. And when it has flowered, Arjuna has this question about moksha that comes from within Arjuna. And then Krishna is telling Arjuna about what karma means. Now you see the contrast here where Arjuna asked about sannyasa and Krishna is talking about karma now. Why so? It's the same reason, because without knowing karma, you can never have sannyasa. You can never take the renunciation without knowing karma. If you've taken renunciation without knowing karma, then that is just belief, no more than belief, which can even be, it can go wrong in the middle even. But what Krishna has done to Arjuna is allow him to fruit as is supposed to be, allow him to have the question about moksha, and then provide the answer about karma, having known which, he will be able to go on to sannyasa, which will lead to moksha. That is why Krishna here is talking about karma. Adhishthanam tatha karta karanam cha prithak vidham vividhascha prithak cheshta devam chaivatra panchamam. So Krishna here is saying that there are five. One is the adhisthana, meaning the place where all the karma is done, which is this body. The second is the karta. Karta meaning that essence within us that says that we are the ones who are doing it. What content is that? In a simple English translation, you'll get it as ego or the self. That is the karta. He who wants to do something, he who does something. Karanam, meaning what the karta uses, what the ego uses to do anything in this world. May it be the hands, the legs, the eyes, the ears, everything. So, karanam cha prithak vidam. There are different kinds of karan. You see, when Krishna talks about the sharira, talks about one, that's fine. Even karta is one. But when it comes to karana, there's so many types of karana, like the hands, the ears, the mouth, the eyes, all that. Then goes on to say, vividhascha prithak cheshta. There is also something. Now, cheshta is not karma that you do outside, but it is an effort from inside. You may think that that effort isn't it just the ego? But Krishna here is saying, no, there is a difference, subtle difference, because the effort comes from the ego. It evolves from the ego. And that which evolves from the ego, which is the effort, is substantially different from the ego itself. It is an effort that you're going to give towards karma. And now Krishna is saying that Devam Chaivatra Panchamam. Deva, which is the Antaryan. Deva, which is the constant between everything. Deva, which is underlying all existence. That is Brahman. What is being said here is nothing. There is no karma that can be done without Brahman, without the unmanifest being there. In short, there is no unmanifest. If there is no unmanifest, then even the manifest is not. If there is no function, then how would you have the form, which is the karma? Because you have to have a function in the middle of all. In the same way, Brahman, which is hidden somewhere behind the veils, is there constantly. The unmanifest is there. And on that, by that, using that, He is where we do the karma. He is he who does the karma, and we also use Brahman to do the karma. Brahman is the all pervading. He is everywhere. And he is the fifth of those causes of the karma. Shariravaং manobhiryat karma prarabhate narah nyayam va viparitam va panchaite tasya hetavah. Whatever we do with our body or our mind or even our speech, because these are the three main perspectives that karma gives us. We can relate what is inside us using all this, using our body, using our speech, using our mind. These are the three faculties that are put ahead, put in front. Anything that you do using these three faculties, any karma that you do, whether it is good or it is bad, whether it is nyayam or it is viparitam, these five are what the causes are. You don't remove or insert any to say that when we are doing something wrong, then the unmanifest, the supreme, is not there. You don't say that. The unmanifest is there. Whether you're doing something that is nyayam, which is good, or you're doing something that is viparitam, which is false, which is untrue, you'll still have all these five at the base of the cause, as the cause of karma. Because if you don't have these, karma will automatically fall down. It will have nothing to base itself on. It will have nothing to evolve from. That is why here it is said that any karma, let it be right or wrong, it evolves from these five. Now, pointing out what being a karta means, pointing out these five causes, then Krishna is moving ahead to talk about what being a karta means and what is the right way of doing karma now. What should be done? Tatraivam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuyah pashyatya krita buddhitvan nasa pashyati durmati. Having said that, in relation to that, if a person only knows himself to be the karta, if anyone only knows himself to be the karta, then he is not seeing. He is akrita buddhitva because he has not known what karma really means. He has not known in his understanding what the truth is. That's why Krishna here is saying that nasa pashyati durmatihi. Such a person of ignorance is not seeing what the truth is. There are so many different translations and ways of commenting on tatraivam satikartaram atmanam kevalam tuyam. One way of viewing this is that out of the five that have been said, if you only pick out karta, the ego, and you say, this is the only one who does. If I do not have this ego, then karma will not happen. Then that view is wrong. That is one way of looking at this verse. Another way of looking at this verse is saying the Atman, yourself, there are two faculties if you're really able to distinguish in there. There is a faculty that is the karta, there is the faculty that goes on to do the karma. Even inside within us, there is a faculty that does the karma of thought. And then there is a second that just sees the thought. Those two are constantly within us. If we're doing a sort of karma, if we're talking, then there is one who talks, and there is one who is seeing that talking is happening. One who is just listening to the talk, that it is happening. Even when we have any thought, there are two faculties. There is one part that is thinking. There is another that is just saying that thinking is happening. It's just listening to the thoughts. We may not be able to distinguish really well here, but one point I would like to distinguish there is that when we are thinking, we're so involved with the aspect of karta, we are not able to focus on that aspect that is just listening to the thoughts. So take another example, whereby we're just listening to music. We're not doing anything. You certainly realize that the aspect of the one who is doing has dissolved. There is no that aspect. There is only one aspect of listening. Neither do you have to have any thought, nor do you have to do any sort of karma. You just have to be. Just being allows you to listen to that music, to capture it in. You don't even need to say it the second time. You don't need to repeat it. Just listening to the music. Then you realize that there is this faculty within us that is not only doing something or thinking about something or doing karma using the body. However, there is that faculty that is just listening, is just there to be. So the other translation of this is, if a person sees himself only as a karta, out of these two faculties, he is only seeing himself as a karta. He only sees himself as an aspect of thought. That's the only aspect I have. Or the only aspect I have is doing the karma. There is no aspect of me that is there just to listen to what is happening or just to see what is happening. What that aspect is called in Sankhya is drashta. He who sees what is happening. And by saying that he sees, I don't mean that having thought, he contemplates. No, not that. Not the aspect that contemplates. If you look at it from the view of the drashta, the one who sees, then you'll realize that he who thinks is the one who contemplates. It's the same aspect of your mind. You think and you contemplate on the same. You think about both sides of it. But there is that aspect. If you focus on it, you're able to flower it. You're able to give it energy. It's like a seedling, and you have not given it water for 2 weeks. So it is there, but it's like without life. So that aspect is there within us, but it is without life. What we have to do in there is focus onto that aspect. The energy that we give to that aspect, the focus that we give to that aspect of us, within us, the drashta, is the water for that seedling. It allows that seedling to sprout out now. And it's able to be evident that I am here. If you can see that there is an aspect of karta within you, there's an aspect of the doing, and there's the aspect of the seeing, which is the drashta. It's the same that is used in the Sankhya Shastra, drashta. If you're able to contemplate on that aspect, know it profoundly, then make the distinction between those two, the drashta and the drashya. Then you're able to put that link in between, which is the drishti, which is like we'll have the seer, we'll have the seen, because now even that which is being produced as a thought will just be seen. So by the perspective of the one who is seeing, even what is created as a thought is just something to be seen. So that's the seen. And we'll have the third aspect of the sight in between those two. And the sight will keep these two separate. Having known this, then being able to distinguish between these two, then you're able to say that there is an aspect of the drashta, there is the aspect of the drashya, and those two are there. If you only know that there is only one within you, like there's only that aspect of the karta within you, there is no aspect of the drashta, then Krishna is saying that you are not seeing the right way. You are not seeing what is right. You're not seeing the truth because you're not able to understand the truth, how it is. You're not able to contemplate upon all the aspects that you have within yourself. You're only able to contemplate and focus on that one aspect that you're habitualized with. Yasya naham krito bhavo buddhiryasya nalipyate hatva pisa iman lokan nahanti na nibadhyate. He now who doesn't have the ahankar bhav, he who doesn't have the ego, and because he doesn't have the ego, his understanding, his intellect will never be stained. If it is never stained by any sort of ego that I am the karta, that I am the one who is doing, then what will happen? Even having killed so many people, he has not killed and he is not bound by any of his karma. This is a crucial point because this is what distinguishes Vedanta from all the other aspects, all the other philosophies of India. Because Vedanta says that ahimsa is not that which you only do with your body, with your mind, or with your speech. Ahimsa is that which you do from your being. Ahimsa is that which you do from the bhav of akarta. Ahimsa is that which you do when you are not stained with your ego, then whatever you do, if it is not stained by your ego, if it's not stained by the karta bhav, then however much hinsa it may look from the outside, from within, you are unstained from the karma. No karma touches you whatsoever.
Thank you, Yogeshwar. So now it's time for questions and or comments. If you have a question and or comment, you can type exclamation point in chat or raise your hand in Zoom. Anyone? Elena. We'll start with Elena.
Good evening, and thank you, Yogeshwar, for it's incredibly helpful and insightful. And my question is, So you mentioned three points or three faculties. So the seer, the seen, and then this, you said something that's in between that connects it. Is it the material or something else immaterial? So we know there is a seer and there is a seen, say thinker and the thought, and the third faculty. Would you please again go over and from your just bring it up how you said it before? Thank you.
So the three faculties. Now this is from the perspective of the drashta, the one who is seeing.
Mm-hmm.
If you talk about the perspective of the one who is doing, if you're from the karta as perspective, it will be different. But if you're looking from the perspective of the seer, there will be the seer and there will be the seen, which is any activity that is being done. And there will be the sight in between, which joins them. And when I say it joins them, it also separates them. Because everything, for example, if we have a boundary, it doesn't only differentiate that this country is separate from this, or this district is separate from this. It also joins them. So everything that separates also joins. In the same way here, that which distinguishes these two, the sight, that is the one which distinguishes these two, it also joins them, the seer and the seen. So that's the word I use, the sight.
And the sight, is it in the material realm, or is it's when you say the sight, is it just what the sight is? What is it?
Yes, now to explain the sight. Now, what the sight is, it's like, let's look at light. Yeah, there will be a source of light, like a torch. That will be physical, that's fine. Then there will also be, like, if we can also take the sun, yeah, we can see the sun, we can feel what the sun is. So the source of the light is there. We can know that the sun is the source of the light. And then we have that which it illuminates, which will be the earth or anything in front of us. It illuminates that. How can we see the light? The light can only be seen if it's illuminating something, like if it reflects back from what it's illuminating. But the rays of the light are there. So that's how subtle that which is in between is. It's like so subtle. You can't see it, but it's only known by the fact that it's reflected upon the scene. Because like if there was no light here, I would not be able to see this book. There is light here, the light rays that are being reflected from this book. I may not be able to see the right light rays in the middle, like in between the book and myself, but they are there, certainly they are there. That's what the sight means.
Thank you, Yogeshwar. Up next, I have Joe, followed by Ambika and Penny. Joe. you're up.
So I'm just really quickly, I just want some clarification on the karta, which is essentially the doer, and the divinity within, and the sense of self within that, and how does that relate to an individual's agency? I mean, I kind of think you just touched on that a little bit already, but I was wondering if you could expand on that, just what that means as far as understanding oneself or being how one acts in the world.
So the perspective of the karta, which is who is the doer. Now, from his perspective, if you're only seeing that I am the doer, then your perspective will be the doer, then the karma that is going to be done, and how I am going to do that karma will be the link in between. That is now the perspective of the doer. From that perspective, you're always going to be able to look on the outside. You're never going to be able to look on the inside from the perspective of the doer, because the doer always wants something to be done. And inside, there is nothing to be done. Only being is, like existence is. And when existence is, you don't need to do anything to it. You don't need to do it. You don't need to have any karma to have it. So from the perspective of the doer, if you turn on the other side, there is nothing that the doer can do, because on the other side, there's only being, right, from the inside, the eternal only.
Thank you, Yogeshwar. Up next, I have Ambika, followed by Penny.
So this is really exciting. And I know I missed so many presentations, but I just felt like picking up these tuning forks. And if these are all the different aspects of life and the yogas, for example, and right here is that central core. The doer and the non-doer are the same, and that which is being done is also not being done, something like that. And then if we choose this frequency or this, it still all comes here, right? Is that what we're trying to say? So that action becomes a weave of all the others, even when they are maybe present or not present, or done or not done, because the central still remains in the sthit prajna or something like that. Does that make, I don't know if this is making any sense. But the ones I have here are for the central nervous system, actually. So it all comes, here. And then whatever you do without thinking of the next result. You just do it. Is this making sense? Or am I getting somewhere? Yeah, you can. You were muted, Evanik. Yeah.
Yogeshwar, did you want to respond?
No comments. It's fine.
Okay. Up next, I have Penny, followed by Ella.
Okay, Yogeshwar. I seem to have lost one of the 5 causes of karma. I had down the body, like the ego, the self, which is like I guess the doer, the karta. Then I think like the sense organs are what you use to actually do things with: hands, ears, mouth, eyes. And then I had the diva, the constant between everything, like the unmanifest, the Brahman. So those are 4. So I'm missing something.
Yeah, just before you come to the unmanifest, like just before that, there is vividhascha prithak cheshta. What cheshta means is the effort that the doer produces, the effort that comes from the ego, and it evolves outwardly. Did that answer your question?
Yes, the effort the doer produces, and it's, you said outwardly?
Yes, because it is the effort to do karma, and karma is only being able to be done outside.
Okay.
Thank you. Up next, I have Ella.
Hi, I was just actually going to comment on the participant who talked, demonstrated with the tuning forks. So if action becomes a weaver of all others, done or not done, and the one tuning fork affects all the others, I get that. So you would then do think your own thought, make your own action, as the central tuning fork does, and that would in effect reverberate, affect others in their, possibly affect others in their lives. And I'm not sure if that's 100% what was being said, but that's what I took from it. Thank you.
Yogeshwar, would you like to respond?
Let me go ahead and respond. Can I go ahead and respond, Yogeshwar? See, these
That's fine.
metaphors, and then Yogeshwar, I'll give it to you if you want to comment more. See, metaphors are very, very powerful and very, very dangerous in the sense that you have to work really hard to get the exact right metaphor. Because if there are aspects of the metaphor, see, each metaphor has what is called paraphrase. So it's like there are all kinds of other things that they suggest, and you kind of have to design the metaphor perfectly. You really need to deeply grasp what you're talking about and choose a metaphor that captures it. If you end up using metaphors which actually suggest many different things, you might actually understand less as a result of it. So I want to caution about using metaphors. I encourage you to use metaphors because that is how you take your understanding further. But you have to be very, very sure that you have to get like saying, yes, this actually captures everything that has been said. And then the metaphor has tremendous power. It's very important. You have to make a judgment whether the metaphor actually does that or not. And each person has to make a judgment. One person can come up with a metaphor and it may mean several things to them, but for other person, it might mean something different. So it's a very, very tricky. Metaphors are very tricky because we are trying to get to the truth. We're trying to understand it in as clear terms as possible. And metaphors are crucial ways of doing that. But there is something like the true metaphor, powerful metaphor that brings things together versus not. So I would definitely recommend that we deal with metaphors in a very systematic way. Metaphors are fundamental to language. They are fundamental to be able to think about things. What happens is that what goes on inside us is very delicate and very complex. So you really have to work very hard to choose the right metaphor that captures with things, with all its implications. So that's a general note on kind of general comment about metaphors themselves that I wanted to make. Go ahead, Yogeshwar, if you'd like to comment.
Yeah, that's why I didn't have any comment about the metaphor that she brought up, because I was not able to grasp it fully in the context that it is being said. So I could not comment about it at all.
Exactly. And that's the right thing to do. If a metaphor doesn't speak to you, then you shouldn't use it. You should use metaphors that speak to you. Now, what happens is that for a person, those things for me, it means certain things. And in which case, in their mind, it is valid. But for another person to say, yes, that actually captures it, means that you have to say that actually these things are, are like that. And these tools actually capture all the aspects and all the interactions exactly in the right way. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. If anybody else has any questions or comments, you can either type exclamation point in chat or raise your hand in Zoom. Oh, and welcome back, Shrikant.
Thank you. And thank you for always, just jumping in. Now you have an option. You can go ahead. I can do the moderating, or you can continue to do moderating, whatever you prefer.
You can do the moderating.
All right. Okay. So if there are no more questions, let's go ahead to the next. What are the next set of verses, Yogeshwar?
I would like to do 18 and 19 for now only, because
Sure.
I have something to explain there between these
Sure.
two verses, because it now puts the fold onto the next 6 verses.
Sure. So we'll do 18 and 19. Can Ambika and then David do the reading? Ambika, 18 and 19, please.
Right. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower, these are the threefold impulsion to works: the instrument, the work done, and the doer. These are the threefold composition of action. Knowledge, work, and doer. These two are of 3 types according to the difference of the gunas. Hear them also as declared in the Sankhya system.
Thank you. David.
Knowledge, the objective of knowledge, the knower of knowledge. These 3 are the impetus of action, the endeavor, the corresponding action, and the doer. These 3 are the basis of action. Knowledge, action, and the doer are described in the Vedic scriptures as 3 kinds, only according to the different modes of material nature. Now hear about these as well in due order.
Thank you. Next up is Yogeshwar. Go ahead.
Jnanam jneyam parikhyata trividha karma chodana karanam karma karteti trividha karma sangraha. How would you like to look at this? There are many ways of looking at this one stanza on its own, because this is now marking where Krishna is going on to what the 3 types will mean, again, unfolding it into sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. Just before that, Krishna says something really impactful. That is, there are 3 things that allow karma to be done. It pushes the karma, because chodana means prerana. It's another word for chodana is prerana. It's like pushing things to be done, allowing things to be done. Now, what are those 3 things that allow things to be done? Jnanam, jneyam, parikhyata. So as we've talked about, these are 3 things, 3 faculties. One is the one who knows, the parikhyata, the jnata. The other is what he will know, the object of knowing. Then in the middle, what joins them is the jnanam. That is what joins both of them. That is what allows karma to be done. One way of looking at this is, let this be what your mind is. Yeah? There is that part of you that is the intellect, which knows, the parikhyata. Then it has the object of knowing. It has the thoughts within them. It has these different types of logic within them. And then it also has that knowing that happens in between, the known and the knower. So that is a faculty that is really subtle. Without having the thoughts within your mind, without having the intellect, karma can never be done. There will be no outright karma. Because without having a mind, there will be no karma that is done with this body. Then Krishna is saying the other three, which is karma sangraha, it is that which you call karma, which is karma, karta, and karan. Now, karma sangraha in this perspective means that which is called karma itself, that which is the heap of karma, like karma rashi. What is it? It includes the karta, the karma, and the karan, which is in the middle. The karta is the doer, the karma is what is done, and the karan is what is used in the middle for the doer to do the action that is done. How I would like to suggest this is like, let's say there is the mind, there is the body, and then there is the outside world. So what you use to interact from your body to the outside world would be this loop of karta, karma, and karan. It is a constant loop that continues. Then what we use to interact from our mind to our body, because Krishna has called these karma chodana, meaning those which allow karma to be done, meaning that it must have some interaction with the body so that the karma can evolve out of the body. So this is the loop between your mind and your body from the within. That is the jnanam, which is in the middle of both of them. There is the jnata, the one who knows. There is the jnanam, which connects it, and there is the jnayam. So this is a process of thought, which connects with your body. And what karma, karta, and karan do is it allows your body to interact with the world at large. And these loops are constant. There is no time, even when you're doing karma, which is outside, there is also this loop from the inside, the jnanam, jnayam, and the parigyata, which is continuously moving on. These are two loops that show how interaction between your mind to your body to the outside world works. What I would now like to suggest is something even more subtle, is that there is one loop that allows you to do something on the outside, yes, which is the karma, karan, and karta. But from the inside, there are two loops. From your mind to your body, there are two loops. There is the jnanam, jnayam, parigyata, and also karanam, karma, karta. Two loops within from the mind, because we know the mind, it is dual. It is like, it has the faculty of like breath, let's say. So what breath is, it can be automatic, yes, but it also has the faculty that we can control it by some aspect. In the same way, the mind also has two faculties. It can be totally doing its karma. There's the loop of karma that goes on, and there's also the loop of knowing that goes on. So two things here. One is the loop of thought that we create from the mind. Another is the jnanam that goes from the body to the mind. One is from the mind to the body, another is from the body to the mind. So that will be the jnanam that is going from the body to the mind. This is a two loop. It's like breathing out and breathing in. You'll have both being done by the mind. That is why in so many traditions, if you have totally known your breath, because there's the breathing in and there's the breathing out, and then also the aspect of controlling your breath and allowing your breath to be automatic. Also, the mind has these sort of faculties that there is a loop in and a loop out. And then it also has this faculty of you can allow your mind to run without your control, and it will run. And then you can also control your mind. You can say, let me think about this. Let me not think about this. If you know your breath particularly well, with utmost subtlety, then you also get to know your mind, because they have indifferences between them. They have these subtle similarities. You may not see them at the surface, but as you practice your breath, you start seeing these similarities between your mind and your breath. Having controlled your breath, then controlling your mind uses the same technique. It won't be a different technique at all. It's the same tools that you use for your breath, that now you'll use them for your mind. Krishna here is now saying, know these two loops that go on. So either you take it as the loop between your mind and your body, and then your body and your outside world, or you take these two loops from your mind to your body and from your body to your mind. However you want to view these two loops that are going on, they are constant loops that are happening. And to know them is also something that is called really important in Indian philosophy. Whether you know it by yoga, by dhyana yoga, you concentrate upon it, or you know it by sankhya, by jnana, by understanding it, how it works and what it does to your body. Because breath has profound impact on your body. So does your thought. It may not be so manifest how much thought has an impact on our body, even physical, but it does so. Because when a person is in total depression, or a person is in a certain state of mind, there are some parts of his body, like he can't do anything. He can't do something productive with his body. Why so? Because even the physical has been affected. There is something that joins the mind with the body and the body with the world at large. Now Krishna is continuing to verse 19, which would be Jnanam karma cha karta cha tridheva guna bhedatah rochyate guna sankhyaane yathavat shrinutanyapi. These are now three faculties that Krishna will mostly delve into. Why so? Because there are six faculties that Krishna has pointed out. Jnanam, Jnayam, Parigyata. And then Karanam, Karma, Karta. Meaning knowledge, the known and the knower. And then the Karta, which is the doer, the action itself, and the tools you use to do the action. That which is in between the doer and the action. These are the six faculties that Krishna has mentioned. Why does Krishna move on to say that he will only distinguish the sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic in only these three faculties, which is the knowledge, the action, and the doer? What you have to notice here is there is the aspect of the doer, which has to be understood certainly. Why? Because in many ways, we are so much attached to the karta. There is no any other being we know that exists within ourselves, apart from the doer, apart from the one who thinks, or apart from the one who does something in our world. That is the only faculty that we are really acquainted to. Having known that, Krishna is saying, I will show you what the karta is, what you know really, really well. I will show you what it means to be a karta of sattvika. And if you can move on to that faculty of being a sattvic karta, then you can also move more inwards into the jnanam game, parigyata. Then, why does Krishna talk about karma then? Because karma is also another faculty that we are so much interwoven into. Without that aspect of karma, for example, our profession or what we do is how we are known, is what we attach to. It's like a teacher who was taught for more than 50 years in their whole career. Now, when he has to resign and sit at home after retirement, they will have a hard time saying that this profession is now not who I am, because the karma is what they become. Even us, it's the same thing. Our karma is what we become. Sometimes we even forget about the karta. It's not that we have reached a higher understanding about the karta that we have left it behind, but we are more even involved into the karma. We're even more involved into what we are doing, that everything else fades away in a shady way. It's like everything just becomes dark beyond that limit of our own action. Having known that, Krishna is saying, then if you can do your own action in a way that is not tamasic, not rajasic, but sattvic, it will shed light, because sattvic is of the nature of light. It will shed light onto all the other aspects of truth. It will shed light onto all the other aspects of the known, of the knower. Then Krishna says, I will also tell you about jnana. I will tell you about that subtle link between he who knows and what is known, the knower and the known. Why that subtle link? Because that link is so subtle. If it's not talked about, it's always missed. For example, in the karma, we know that the link in between is the karana, are the tools that we use. If we talk about the body and the interaction with the world, we'll say the tools are our hands, our legs, our eyes, our ears. Those are really easy to know. Like, we can use them in the right way and we can use them in the wrong way. And we know what is right and wrong. We know the distinction there. However, when we talk about jnanam, which is the link between the knower and the known, because the knower and the known themselves are subtle, that link is even subtler than that. So talking about that is really delicate, but if it's never talked about, it's always missed. You're going to feel that I have known the knower, I've known the known, and so the link doesn't matter. But the much the link matters, I may say even the knower and the known may not matter, because if you do not know the link, then you do not know any of those two. If you don't know the cause of that, you cannot know it itself. If you also do not know the fruit that evolves out of that, you cannot know what it is. You have to know what the middle is to know both ends, the cause and the fruit of it. That is why Krishna is choosing these three, particularly knowledge, the action, and the doer. Tridhaiva guna bhedata Procyate gunasankhyaane yathavat shrunutanya. How it is said in the Sankhya Shastra, how it is said in the Shastra of understanding, I am going to tell you. And Krishna is now going to say this in the next 9 verses. Each of them will have 3 verses, one for Sattvic, one for Rajasic, another for Tamasic.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Yogeshwar. Let's see. I think Joe had a question. Joe, go ahead. Folks, anybody else who has questions, go ahead and type exclamation mark. Joe, go ahead.
So I've got the mind-body loop down about how we perceive the outside world, and this is accessible to everyone, right? This is how everyone works. So something that I was actually reading about prior to this was how our differences and our perceptions actually come out of that, and something came up called sanskaras. I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, and could you explain that, like how the differences in our perceptions function?
Yes. So samskaras, what samskaras mean? Samskara is like a set, like all the karma that we do on a daily basis, on a yearly basis, during our whole lifetime. There is a way that it builds up something onto our mental. Like, for example, we may have forgotten what it felt like being a child, but I'm not talking about the memories now, yeah? But I'm talking about that moment of being a child. We've forgotten. We only have the memories now, but we've forgotten that moment. But what that moment has, the impact that moment still has on our mind is still there. That impact is called the samskara. So anything that comes from outside, whether it is like, let me just give an example, like basic example. If a person during his like small age, like when he was a child, he was given like tomatoes and then he disliked them at that point in time, or he vomited them out, then there will be something subtle. He may not even remember that instance. But when he's old enough, he will still not like tomatoes. He'll not know why. But there is that which is inbuilt now into him. It's just because of one instance, but it lives with him until he dies. So that is what sanskara means. It is that which karma does upon you. Yeah, because it is karma that leaves the stain of sanskara onto you. That stain will hold on to you. Now, that is what Krishna is saying, that yasya naham krito bhavo buddhir yasya nalipyate. All our intellect and our ego is still there. So with that, all this sanskara will still be there. But then for he whose ego has dissolved and whose intellect is not stained by any of the karma, which Krishna says in verse 17, then he, even though he kills so many people, is still in the aspect of ahimsa. And I see this ahimsa is even more profound than what we could say not killing, because this is even like saying that I will not kill, not because I am the doer and I will not kill, but even removing the aspect of the doer from ourselves. So in that aspect, in that relation, you can never kill. You can never do any karma because you're not the doer anymore.
Thank you. Thank you, Yogeshwar. Yogeshwar, I really like the fact that you focused on number 18, because those two loops are really profound. That you're taking, you're looking at something that is outside through certain means, and there is a looker inside. So you're taking that in, and then you're the doer, your instrument through which you are doing it, and then the work that is done. And those two things actually build on one another. So it's like you need to be doing karma and you need to be knowing. And those, it's like breathing in and breathing out. So I think that is very profound. And so I, thank you for highlighting that. All right, does anybody else have any comments or questions?
Yeah, one more comment that I would like to put ahead in verse 18.
Mhm.
We have seen these loops now. So what we have to see is that there is one seer, not a knower, not the Gyata, but there is the Drashta, who is still behind all these loops and is looking at these loops happening and is still untouched by these loops. I would not say that the Gyata is the seer. I would say the seer is still behind and he's looking at these loops happening, still untouched by the loops.
Wonderful, beautifully put. Thank you. Next up is Evanik.
Hi, Yeshwar. Thank you again for a wonderful session. My question was when you were talking about, well, I'll do the first one. I have two questions actually. When you were talking about allowing the mind to run and then controlling the mind, is there, and I know you were talking about like, it's kind of like breath, breathing in, and then I guess, is it like when you're just breathing and not thinking versus breathing in and out? Or is it something else? And does that make sense?
Yes, so how I'd like to view this is how I said the similarities between these two faculties of the mind and the breath is that there are two similarities which are distinct. One similarity is that both of them have the faculties of being controlled and being automatic in a way. They have the automatic path and the path that you can control it. However much automatic it is, there is an aspect of it that you can control. The second similarity I said is that they both work in loops. There is the in and the out, constant. There is no like, if I say in, I only want the in and I don't want the out. That never happens. If you have the in, you also have the out as well, constantly going on. These are the two ways I say they are similar. Now, each of them is distinctly, like, there is a distinction between these two similarities, but both of them are there in the breath and both of them are there in your mind. Having known these similarities, if you can control your breath, like, because even the mind, there is an aspect that you can control. If you go on to that aspect of controlling your mind, you have the utmost control over your thoughts. You know what thought you can bring to your mind and it is ready there. You can say that now I do not want to think about this, I want to think about this. And it is ready in front of you. That is the stage at which you have the utmost control of your mind. It's like with your breath, you can say that after having done practices, not right now, is it? After having done practices, you can say that I can have my breath go out for 30 seconds and then go in for 30 seconds. And I can constantly have that happening during my day. That is a sort of practice of control of the breath. Now, in the same way, you can control your mind, saying, I will have certain types of thoughts in my mind, and I will not have certain types of thoughts in my mind. I can control my mind. I can control the thoughts that run in my mind rather than just having them automatic. And you realize that when you are able to control your thoughts, you're able to control your emotions, you're able to control every aspect, even your intellect, then whatever you want to produce within you, whether it's happiness, whether it's joy, it is within your hands. It's not like somebody else can just press a button on the remote and you change. It's not like that. Everything is in your hands. However much goes on in the environment, you can still remain untouched by that because you know what emotions or what thoughts you want to run in the mind.
Evanik, did you have a second question?
Yeah. But I also want to follow up on that one.
Go ahead, whichever one you want. How about you give both of them? Because Yogeshwar will need to leave in about 9 minutes. So you put all your questions on the table and then let Yogeshwar respond to any of them.
Okay, so following up, so is it like, somebody said it's a quote that says like you like thoughts will come and go, but you control what stays. It's it kind of like that. And then number two, when you said when you were talking in the beginning of verse 18, you were talking about the body being related to the outside world. And I just I'm trying to get that and it's not clicking.
First, with the second question, the body, how it relates with the outside world is through the loop of the doer and the action. Because that is how we interact with the world. We don't interact with the world with just our thoughts, because when our thoughts are still in our mind, there's no interaction with our world. But when we are interacting with the world, even through speech, because even speech is an interaction, it's like there is one who is talking out, and then there is what is being talked out. So there is the doer and there's the action that is happening. That is the only way we interact with the world. And that loop, Krishna is saying, is the karanam karma karteti, trividha karma sangraha. All that is what comes in the loop of what is called karma. Even the doer himself comes in the loop of the karma, because he is one aspect of the karma. If he was not there, karma would not be. That's why he is part of the loop of the karma, the interaction between the body and the world. Then your second question, your first question about how we could control our mind and what it means to control our mind. Does it just mean that there are some automatic thoughts and then there are some thoughts that we say we want to keep, and then there are some thoughts that we just say we don't want to keep? So there are two ways of doing this now. Let me make it clear, because one is the way of yoga, of dhyana yoga, saying that this is only what I will keep within my mind. It is like saying dhyana. So doing dhyana of one thing, allowing only one thing to stay in your mental environment, and then putting all your emotions, all your love, all your intellect, all around that one thing. So that one thing becomes a stable ground for you within your mind. That is how dhyana yoga works. And then at the end of dhyana yoga, you'll also realize that nirvikalp samadhi comes, past savikalp samadhi. So that in nirvikalp samadhi, even this will dissolve. Even that which you've built your emotions around will dissolve. But the first step will be this. However, using the road of jnana yoga, how you do it is allow your automatic thoughts to happen. Yes. But you're allowing that loop to happen, because the loop is the automatic thoughts that happen. You allow the loop to happen of your thoughts. Now you try to get to the seer directly without trying to build anything in your mind. You directly go to the seer, trying to look at he who is seeing the loop happening. If you are able to see the loop that is happening directly, then you're able to go to Jnana Yoga directly. However, if you're not able to see the loop, like just be separate from that loop. Allow it to happen without you interacting with it. Then what will happen in Jnana Yoga as well is that having understood it, staying separate from it, because there's so many things that when we're involved in them, we never really have a larger view, a larger perspective of them. When we step back, when we just look at things from afar, we're able to look at the larger perspective of them. So that's what Jnana Yoga does. It allows the loop to happen automatically, steps back and looks at the loop happening and understands each and every aspect of it. Having understood it, what will now automatically happen for that person in Jnana Yoga is that he will be able to put everything in place, even without touching it. It's like, because these are thoughts, yeah? So he doesn't need to touch the thoughts even. He can just allow things to be as they are and stay untouched by them. That is how Jnana Yoga works.
Thank you, Yogeshwar. Thank you very much. And thank you, Evanik, for moderating while I was not there. So what I want to do now is I want to connect up Gita with what we discussed on Sunday. Was it Sunday? Yeah, it was Sunday and Tuesday. And that was the book by Owen Barfield on the silver trumpet. So I want to invite people who are familiar with it. So I'll make some comments about the relationship. And then I will invite everybody who wants to, who are familiar with the book to comment on it. It's a children's book. And if you have not read the book, there may be some spoiler, a little bit of spoilers, but not really much. So feel free to stay on. There is no problem. And I recommend the book very highly. It's the deepest children's book that I have read, with possible exception of Alice in Wonderland. But Alice in Wonderland is epistemological. This one is metaphysical, and it is about human psyche. So I'm going to jump right into the topic. Gita talks about three main yoga: Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. Let's keep Dhyana Yoga separate for a moment. But look at these three yogas. And Yogeshwar had done an amazing presentation of these three yogas. Where do you see them in the silver trumpet? What is silver trumpet? Silver trumpet is you getting to the knowledge. Is you focused on the knowledge of eternal truths. It reminds you of that. So it is all about being focused on the core. It is Om. It is Om in Gita. It is the word in the Bible. It is the Tao, which is not directly spoken of, but that's what you're trying to focus on with the sound. So it is Jnana Yoga. And the prince represents the Karma Yoga. It is the adventure you have to do, the work you have to do, the risks you have to run. in order to achieve your values in the external world. That's what the prince is about. And the princess, Violet, is about Bhakti Yoga. It is the love you feel. Each of these yogas you can screw up on. When you screw up on Karma Yoga, you become a toad who's just wallowing wherever it is, very limited, not really moving anywhere. When you screw up on Bhakti Yoga, you become full of fear and you become a gamboy in this story. And the toad and the gamboy go together. So both this is about moving towards the periphery, whereas Prince and the Princess, Prince and Violet, is all about moving towards the center. But all of them need the silver trumpet. If you're a prince and you do not take care of the silver trumpet that has been given to you by your father, you will suffer. If you are Violet and you find your prince and then ignore the silver trumpet, you're going to be in trouble. So it is those three yogas. And the one that is holding everything together is the silver trumpet. It is the knowledge of the eternal. And it is implemented through these two other yogas, Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So that is a very quick take on connecting the three yogas with the silver trumpet. Now I would love some comments and I will add more as people comment. So especially people who have read the story, I would love to see your comments about where do you see connection between Gita and the silver trumpet. We'll start with Joe, followed by Evanik. Joe.
So I tried to think about this actually the other day a little bit. And Om Tat Sat.
Yes.
So how Om is used to purify our actions. And so, and to clear our thoughts. And that essentially was the sound of the trumpet that is actually clearing, everybody's like kind of, it's making them pause and see the world differently for what it is. And even with Gamboy, it causes her to stop. So the power of sound. The Tat is that it removes us from that. That's what I have in my notes, and I was trying to figure that out.
No, I think Om Tat Sat is best thought as one unit.
Okay.
Om basically the reason it gives people pause. So firstly, you have to say what it is, and then you can look at what its effects are. And you are absolutely right, but I'm just trying to break it up into parts so you can see it more clearly. Om is the name of Brahma.
Right.
It is truth. It is truth. Now, when you hear truth, it reminds you of truth, no matter what you are doing. So what happens is that everybody, all of us are engaged in our life. We are engaged in action that we are not really aware of what we are doing. And we are engaged in emotions and we are not really aware of what those emotions are, where they're taking us. We are also have all kinds of thoughts in us, which are sometimes true, sometimes false, and they are mostly about periphery, not about the center. What the sound does, so what the sound Om does, and what this silver trumpet does is to remind us of truth. Om Tat Sat is simply, Tat Sat are additions to Tat means that, and Tat is true or good. So it is, and all of that is really captured in Om itself. You're just reiterating it in multiple ways in order to keep your focus on that.
And Sat would be our actions, right?
No,
No?
Tat is
Okay.
something true or good. You're simply,
Okay.
it is like three ways of saying the same thing. It
Okay.
is different ways of focusing on the same thing. You're focusing, Tad means that. And
Okay.
then Sat means it is, or it is true, or it is good. So you are saying the word. So just like in Gospel of John,
Right.
the word is doing the same thing. In the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. It's the same thing. What the word is doing is that you are becoming aware of truth. It is your awareness of truth. And through the word, it is making you aware of it. It is giving you a way to the truth. So at once, it is true, good, and beautiful at once. And that's the impact that is there. Now that impact is there in the sound itself, in the word itself. But you have to say yes to it. You have to, it will have an impact on you. It will interrupt what you're doing. But most people's next reaction, as soon as the sound stops, is to feel ashamed and to ignore it and to go about their business. You can see the whole range of reactions to it. Firstly, it interrupts people. Even bad people, it will interrupt for a second. Good people who are kind of are not on a good path, like the prince who has become a toad,
Right.
by drinking, by falling for everything that Gamboy is doing. His first reaction when he hears the trumpet after so much long is that bring that person, execute that person, lock up the trumpet. Reaction of even Lily is, who are these vagrants doing this sound? They're not allowed, they should not be allowed near the castle. That is the first reaction. The second level, to her greatness, she says, oh, my life is a mess. I am living death. I need to fix this. I know that Miss Thompson can fix it. Send for her. So that is, again, but that comes only after she hears it the second time. But then she does take that action. And so that's what I would say. Go ahead, Joe.
No. I think that this is actually, this is clears things up for me, especially with the, when you're mentioning the Gospel of John too, and Brahman, as well as this, like the idea of the universal principle, that people constantly have to keep coming back to it as well, is that that's the reason why that the horn has to be continually played. It's something that
you have to keep doing that. You can't really rely. I mean, and that was the idea of Perio, that he kept sounding the trumpet until Gamboy turns into violet.
Yes.
And that's what you have to do. And then you still keep the trumpet with you, and you keep doing that on a regular basis. So pursuit of eternal truth is a continual pursuit. That's what Dhyana Yoga is about. Dhyan means focus your attention, your concentration on the truth and keep it there. And it's training about keeping that attention there. I want to go one step further. The silver trumpet is a Western story. The version of it that is there in India is that, like, for example, I sang the scale.
Yeah.
Right? I sang the scale, and that scale, that rag is Bhoop. Okay, and the songs there I'll give you like a couple of lyrics of the song to show you the Indian approach to the sound. Okay, like the Western approach is saying, oh, that is truth. Let me go towards it. Indian approach is different, but let me first go with Myron, followed by Evanik. Then I will explain this one too.
Please
I
do.
want to,
Yeah, please do.
Myron, go ahead.
Hi. So I actually agree with all these ideas, and I think they're really fascinating. But there's an aspect of the trumpet that I still don't understand, or at least how it ties into this, which is, if we remember, using the trumpet can actually leave you worse off than you were before. Because I remember, I'm actually looking on the bottom of page 12 now, where I'm reading again how the prince got really tired of blowing the trumpet all the time, and that Gamboy actually got worse and worse after each blow, because it was almost as if she was making up for all the time that she had lost beneath the spell of the silver trumpet. And so I really recognize the power of the trumpet as like something analogous to Om, or the word. But at the same time, that word spell, it's almost like it may not be that, or at least it may not, I don't know. Yeah.
Let me go ahead and try to answer that.
Okay.
So that's a very profound point, okay? Because it is showing you the nature of truth. The truth is not effortless. You have to work continuously. It is relentless pursuit of truth that is needed. And if the motivation for the truth is simply to reduce the negative feeling of the moment, which is what the motivation of Prince Courtesy is, that is not sufficient to actually live with the truth. That is just, he's not doing enough at all. He is getting tired of the truth, and he is using truth only to reduce the negative emotion of this person. So by failing to really commit to truth and using it only to damp down the negative, actually the negative keeps growing up. And then he will give up the trumpet. That's what he does. He, as Maritza was pointing out very beautifully here, that he actually is not a great character. Okay, the trumpet fell into his hands, and he's using it as a toy to just make negative emotions of the moment go away. The right way to use the trumpet is what Piryo does. He keeps blowing the trumpet. He keeps focusing on the truth until Gamboy turns into violet. That's the minimum effort that is needed. Okay, and then you still have to continue doing the trumpet. Okay, so what I'm saying is that truth, achieving of truth is not easy. It requires effort. That's number one. If you're not prepared to, if somebody like Prince Courtesy is not willing to take that effort, they will fail. That is also true of Violet. She does not respect the trumpet. She doesn't respect the truth. Once she achieves happiness with the prince, actually both of them say, okay, now we are done. We have achieved the results of it. So they give up the trumpet. Okay, that is not the nature of human beings. And if you do that, then the consequences is Prince Violet dies and Prince becomes a toad, thanks to Gamboy. Okay, so that's what I would say. Now I want to just contrast it. Let me use this opportunity to talk about the Indian approach to truth. Okay, so the Rag Bhu, I was looking at compositions in that because it captures the words actually capture the meaning of trumpet. in the Indian context. Okay, so I'm going to talk about two songs. The first one is in Marathi, which is a popular song, and second one is in Hindi, which is a classical song. Okay, and you can see the meaning and how profound it is. The first one is called Maze Jivanagane. So that means this is my song of life. Okay. Vyatha aso ananda asunde. So whether my life is full of trouble or full of happiness, I will go forward singing my song of life. Vyatha aso ananda asunde. Prakasha kimva timira asunde. Whether there is light or darkness. Vata diso athva na diso. Whether I can see the path forward or not see the path forward, I will continue singing my song of life. Okay, that is the Indian approach. That you have to be playing this trumpet, not as an external thing, but you sing, and that is your identity. The pursuit of the truth is your identity. Okay. Let me take something which is even more profound than this. Okay. This is a classical piece. It says Sahela Re. So it's actually regarding this sound as a dear friend. Okay. She is addressing this sound as a dear friend. Sahela Re, aa mila jaye, come meet with me. Okay, so it is inviting the sound. Okay. Sata suroke bheda sunaye. Show me all the variations of notes that are making up this word. So please sing to me. So show me all the manifestations of this eternal principle. Okay. Janama janam se yada na bhule. So across my life and across my multiple lives, forget about the multiple lives, but across my life, I have never forgotten you. It has always been there in the background. Abase mileto bichuda na jaye. Now that I have met you, let us not part. Okay. Now see the profound approach to the sound. Not that there is this external thing that is producing it, but this is the core of yourself. And that's what you do. That's what you express. So that's the Indian version. Next up is going to be Myron. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, thank you. It was really helpful.
Thank you. Next up, let's go with Ella, followed by Evanik. Ella.
Yes, I just reflecting on that last point in terms of looking at Gamboy. I'm thinking that she was living in ego, reading her books, and highly manipulative, planful, negative, controlling, hurts others, and that she was actually, as the speaker talked about, not only an ego, but that perhaps in samskara, that her intellect perhaps was stained with her karma. And I don't know if that concept goes back in Christianity to original sin. It's sort of bringing up those images, but I don't, I'm not equating them. But just something very, very deep in her that's been cut off early on, in terms of the way her mind interacts with the world, going out, the process coming back in, how she relates to others. And it's just, the loop is not functioning.
Thank you. Can I go ahead and respond?
Oh, sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Ella. So the important thing to realize is that Violet and Gamboy are one. They represent what our psyche can be. Our heart can either be focused on the center, or it can be focused on periphery, or it can get attached to periphery. Both these are possibilities, are some things that we can do, and that's what we do from moment to moment. It's a choice that we have. So in that sense, both are one and both are part of us. Gamboy represents attachment to the periphery, attachment to things. And once you get attached to things, you're full of fear. When your heart is attached to the periphery, you're full of fear. When your actions are focused on periphery, you're a toad. So the toad and Gamboy go together. Gamboy uses toad to scare princesses. She uses it to murder Violet. She uses it to convert Lily into Gamboy 2, temporarily, thankfully. So it is simply focused on periphery, that, in the terms that we have discussed, Gita, center versus periphery. Next up is going to be Avanique.
So the one thing I had thought about is this concept of attachment. And I was thinking about it, and courtesy was attached to feeling good. Like everything was fine, to the point where he gave up the trumpet to Violet. So casually, like after he goes through the whole explanation of why he can't give it up, then he gives it up to Violet. And I think his attachment was to feeling good, right? Violet also had an attachment to this concept of love. Like she loved Gamboy, and even though they used to argue all the time, she loved Gamboy, and almost to her detriment. And in a sense, she loved courtesy to her detriment, because she takes this truth, she takes the trumpet, and she just casually like plays with it. And I think it was Myron that said, eventually, like, the prince got tired of the truth, or the trumpet, which is the representation of the truth, and Violet plays with the truth, right? Like she just treats it as a casual thing. And then, like, they both, and then when she realizes, oh, I left it downstairs somewhere, knowing that Gamboy wanted to destroy the trumpet, it doesn't bother her in the least. Or she's just too lazy to go downstairs and put it away, right? To even look for it. And I think that's a symbol. And I think Violet was like, oh, I have my prince. I have love now, and not love like we talk about in the Gita. I mean, she had love like, oh, my prince is here. I don't have to do anything else, right? And we see that in a lot of relationships, that once people decide that they're together, or even when they decide they're married, they stop working at it. Like they just stop working for it. They stop working for it. And you see that with friendships too. Like once you're in the friendship, people get lazy and people stop working for it. And so in a sense, Violet couldn't be bothered with it. She was too lazy for it. And it eventually killed her. Gamboy got attached to control. Like she wanted to control everybody and everything, which is just an impossible task. And so all these people, when I think of the Gita, is that when they got attached to something, like you said, they got attached to the periphery, but when they got attached to something, it's the attachment that destroyed them, no matter if they were good, bad, or indifferent. It was the attachment that destroyed them all, in a sense. It destroyed courtesy, it destroyed Violet, it destroyed Gamboy. And I always think like of Violet and Gamboy in that trumpet, is that's where I think Violet and Gamboy were one and connected, and that they both didn't want this trumpet around. Like it just, it just, in a sense, the truth, and I'm going to say this, in a sense, the truth can destroy the person that's not ready for it. If that person is not pursuing the truth will destroy you. And if you are pursuing the truth, and in a sense, it has to, right? It's kind of like the Gita. Krishna is destructive. Like it's a cycle. It's destructive life. I think we did it in those diagrams, right? There's destruction, there's life. I'm paraphrasing, of course, and then I think there was like growth, and then like it's all cycle. So this all had to kind of happen to them. They all had to, in a sense, be destroyed in order to build themselves back up. And when Gamboy Gamboy could have chose to, it's like Gamboy could have chosen differently, and so could have Violet. I think the one thing I guess what Gamboy turning into Violet is that the truth was coming, and at this time, Violet was able to accept it. And that's why Violet was also able to come back to life. And Lily was able to accept it, her daughter. And because Lily was able to accept the truth, even if it killed her, she was not going to live that way anymore. And I think that's the attitude you have to have for the truth. You have to let the truth kill the part of yourself that won't accept it. So Lily, in a sense, had to die to her fear and embrace the toad, in a sense, and just say, I will not live like this anymore. And I think with Prince Perio, he just kept going. Like he knew there was something out there for him, and he kept going. So he's kind of like, I mean, he took his missteps too, but he didn't let those missteps stop him. If anything, he just kept going and going. And even when he turned into the toad, even when it hit him, he didn't let the toad win. Because we're always going to have fear. I think that's the point of it, right? The toad is fear. So when you have the toad, when you have fear, you can either let the fear overcome you like Courtesy and Lily did, or you could be like Perio and say, okay, the fear's here. I'm just going to keep moving. I might slow down. I might need to rest because now I'm a toad, but I'm going to keep moving. And he didn't know if he was ever going to turn back into a prince. He didn't know what was going to happen, but he did. So yeah, many links between Gita and the silver trumpet.
Evanik, that was just amazing. It was fantastic. I agree with everything that you said. But I want to focus on kind of the distinction. It's not enough that trumpet exists, and it's not enough to just have the trumpet, even with you. Okay, it takes a lot more, and that's where, that's why I use the term that Prince Perio is Prince 2.0, and Princess Lily is Princess 2.0. Because if you look at the first version of the prince and the princess, and the Violet, right? Violet and Courtesy. they just happened to run into the trumpet. Okay, they didn't do anything. They just had the trumpet, and they were, Prince walks in to the castle with all these horses and the trumpet. And then, Violet sees this beautiful prince and the trumpet, and they're just doing things in a reactive way. And it so happens that the trumpet is around and they're able to do something with it. And it's all incremental. Okay. Now contrast that with Perio and Lily. Perio, he's a prince, and he's going to marry this rich princess, and they're going to have a great, wealthier kingdom. But he says, no, this little picture, that is one that I want. So I will give up my kingdom for that. And I will walk. I have no money. I have nothing. And I will walk. I don't even have a map. I don't even know exactly how to get there. But I'm going to do. So one of the lessons here from 1.0 to 2.0 is what it takes in order to achieve the truth in your life. You have to be willing to go through hell. You have to be willing to walk in circles around the world. You have to be willing to give up your kingdom. And you have to be willing to be turned into a toad. And you have to continue as a toad and keep going in order to do that. And then when you do get the trumpet, you have to keep blowing that until you transform the world, until you bring heaven on earth and joy in the psyche of you and everyone around you. Until you're doing that, it's not enough, and you have to do whatever it takes to do that. Similarly for Lily. Lily's greatness really shows when she hears the trumpet for the second time, meets with Miss Thompson, and then kisses the toad. Because what is that? She's going against this entire lifetime. Remember that when she started out, she was pure good. Thanks to whatever residual things that Princess Courtesy had, he gave her that. So her initial reaction to Gamboy was, what's wrong with Gamboy? Okay, which is the right reaction. But then, she got afraid of the toad. She fell for everything that Gamboy did. Again, Princess Courtesy screwed up by being a father, to let his daughter go downhill like that. I mean, that's just horrible. Then falling in love with Gamboy. I mean, what is that? And all of that, but all of that is just being reactive. In that mode, both of them are being reactive. But then the heroism of Lily is the one that saves her and saves Perio, converts him from toad into a prince again. So that's what it takes to be willing to, and she puts it very clearly. If the choice is between death and living like I did, I will choose death. Absolutely. So great points. Thank you. All right. Anybody else? All right, folks, this was just amazing. I'm glad that I got to talk more about this. And folks, if you have not read this story, please do. It is, you can go to the meetup. You can just search for The Silver Trumpet by Owen Barfield. The PDF is available for free at owenbarfield.org. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We'll be continuing chapter 18. Thanks, Evanique and David, for handling things while I was gone. And see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Night.